Today's
Nice.
show is brought to you by Manscaped, the leaders in below the waistline grooming, baby. You know they get all the delicate spots and make them nice and sweet for you and whoever you like to have a little bit of fun with. But more importantly, man, it just makes the male grooming experience that much better, right? When we talk about that Lawnmower 4.0, we talk about the 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, the body wash, that spray, the cologne, you gotta smell good. And like I told you, St. Patrick's Day is right around the corner, so we all trying to get lucky, okay? But the best way to do that is to use the promo code, right? And that promo code is MOATS. Use that code, you get 20% off of your purchase plus free shipping worldwide. So that way you could be like me and all of our Irish people out there and get lucky come St. Patty's Day. All right? So with that being said, baby, shout out to Manscaped. And trust me on this, your delicate twins will definitely thank you as well. We need to talk about him the past couple of shows. It's just we've been having so much content that we needed to get off to you guys. We haven't had a chance to address it fully. But for those that don't know, man, Calvin Ridley was suspended I believe it was over the weekend for the full 2022 season for betting on NFL games that he was playing in. It was crazy. You know, you always joke about, all right, is this guy, trying to move the needle, is point shaving, whatever, and you never really think of it to the full extent. But it is kind of crazy to see that he was betting on his own team. Now, from my understanding, it wasn't as if he was trying to play bad, because I want to say at some time he wasn't even on the field. He was actually injured. But
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you talk about integrity of the game and you talk about why the game is so big right now, is because it's still viewed as pure. And then along with that, think about how much money is made every year with these new gambling deals. We talk about DraftKings. We got, all these other sponsored, not sponsored, but all these other bigger name, sports betting and booking sites that work with the NFL and thrive because of that. But when you throw in the potential that, hey, man, this guy was betting on his own games, it makes you wonder, okay, what would he have done to influence it differently? And we've seen in the past, especially, at the collegiate level, I believe it was Arizona State University back in the early 90s, if I remember correctly. I know they had a scandal, surrounding some of that with, Stephen Headache Smith, if I remember correctly. He was one of those guys that was also betting on his own games, and it was fine while they were winning, but then it got to the point where, because, he needed to keep it going and he had a little bit of an issue with it, it became he was losing games intentionally. And that was some of the stuff that, you just don't ever want to creep into the NFL level, because as a person that supports the league, as a person that believes in parity, it will make you look at stuff differently. You think about that Chiefs-Bills game and how that happens with 13 seconds at the end of it. If you don't feel like the game is pure, you're looking at that situation saying, man, what's going on here? Is there a fix-it? And that's some of the stuff that I think the NFL wants to get away from, and ultimately why they were so harsh and just giving him that 1-year suspension right away. But that's kind of my perspective on it, man. But what about you, Deke? How you feel about it?
Yeah.
Man?
And this doesn't take away anything what you were saying, because you're 100% accurate. But it was official that he didn't bet on any games that he played in.
Correct.
He did it November 2021 when he was out. But it could still be the same thing where he has insider information on the Falcons.
Absolutely.
Maybe he knows a little something. I don't know what he's doing from the couch, though, in terms of the actual game going on. I don't think he's texting people. But I guess these are all things that are coming up when you do bet on games and you're in the NFL. These are kind of like the speculations that you go back and forth with.
Yeah, and that was part of the issue going back to, like I said, with Headache Smith out in Arizona State. When that was going on, initially it was just him. But then it got to the point that he communicated with another player on the team, and both of those guys were doing it together. So even when Headache would get hurt and have to sit out some time, the other gentleman was still trying to make sure that the numbers were going to be where it was supposed to be. So even though a guy isn't out there, he can still have that influence on it if others know about the situation. And that is, really that issue right there. But I didn't mean to cut you off, man. You keep going.
Oh, no. 1,500 is what he bet.
Yeah.
A year suspension. And he bet on his own team.
Yeah.
A year seems like a lot. I mean, the suspension should happen for sure.
Okay. So
but I think 8 games. I think you do 8 games, like 6 or 8 games, something like that.
See, I personally feel like you can't, man. I mean, well, first off, tell me why you feel 8.
I don't know if it's the amount. Maybe Yeah, I guess maybe he's getting made an example of.
Say it again.
Because I guess he's getting made an example of, because whenever you add up the situation, if you just take it
Mm-hmm.
as an individual, 1,500, he was sitting
Okay.
out. He wasn't even playing in the games. Bet on his own team. Like, that doesn't sound bad at all. You get what I'm saying? So, but your point with just making him an example of everything, like, you don't want this precedent just being taken lightly going forward, because what's the amount then next? Like, if
Right.
I say 1,500, oh, that's not that bad. Do we say, oh, 30,000's the next point where,
Right. Right.
okay, that's a year. Whereas 1,500, oh man, 1,500 is only 68 games. I think the precedent of just, you
Yes.
shouldn't bet on games at all. The problem would be if someone like bets $10 on something and then he's getting a year. I mean, that would feel extreme. But at the same time, that's what you want. You don't want
Right.
anyone messing around with these games one way or another.
Yeah.
It just sucks, man. I don't know how to put it. I mean, you seeing dudes with
Right.
weed getting like 4 games with like 3 games, 2, but then like this dude just betting 1,500. It
Right.
feels very light just from an outsider looking in, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you don't want the
And that's the
integrity of the
biggest
game getting
difference. When you're
messed up.
talking about weed, that is a NFL policy in the sense of, hey, no different than how if you work for the government, they're going to have policies where you can't smoke weed. It doesn't matter if it's legal from a state level or a local level. If it's not legal on a federal level, they don't really care about that. And that is part of the reasons why when people say, well, man, how are you suspending guys this long for weed and this and that? It's like, well, they have a policy in place. Every company can have similar policies if they choose to. The NFL just chooses to enforce it. And because of that, that's why people feel a little bit, different about it. But with Calvin Ridley, what he was doing, this attacks the integrity of the game. So for me, it doesn't matter if it's $10 or $100,000. The fact that you have to question, is this game rigged? Imagine this. Okay, it starts with Calvin Ridley, and you say, 1,500 a full year is bad. What if it was a referee doing that? How would you feel then? If a referee no, why is he out of the league? Though, right? Because you just said Calvin Ridley for a year seems extreme, and that's my thing.
I think I do think it would be different if he was playing in the games, though. That's why I do think this situation, it feels different, just because he wasn't even in the games. He's sitting out and just, probably I envision him sitting on his couch and just pulling up FanDuel and betting $1,500 on a little parlay.
Yeah,
if he was playing, though, I think if he was playing, it's a whole different story.
Man, I just can't get with it, honestly, man. Like, just the thought of, why are you putting that money down like that? Because it makes you feel like you know something. Because that's the other part. We do have access to a ton of information that the regular fans do not have access to. So even me saying, hey, I got a boy that plays for the Titans, and I call my boy up and I say, hey, man, who playing this week for y'all, bro? Who hurt, who's not hurt? We know that information before any of y'all do, honestly. We'll know it 2-3 days in advance. Like, nah, he's going to be straight. He's going to play. And it's like, nah, he's not going to play. We know he's banged up. And
okay, that's why
sitting
exactly,
out not at all. And that's before you even get
okay.
that injury. Think about it. Y'all got to wait till Sunday, 3 hours before kickoff to know this. We know the line can move by then. But if I knew on Wednesday, hey, yo, this dude isn't playing, but we're going to keep him on the report as questionable. How many times do we do that in Pittsburgh? And we're like, bro, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Oh, game time decision. If you already knew that he was going to be playing on Thursday, you lock your bet in. Now you got the one up on everybody. You got the best odds. And and on the contrary to that, it's like, man, if you knew this guy's not playing and they're talking him up like he's going to play, so you bet against it or you bet different, that is a little bit of an issue. That's an integrity part. And that's where the NFL just cannot have any tolerance with that. And that's why they take the zero tolerance policy as it pertains to betting on games, especially while you are playing. That's the thing. Like, and when I say as you are playing, meaning you are an active roster NFL player, you just can't toe that line, because where does it stop? 1,500 for Calvin. Okay. Like I said, if it's a referee, what if the referee, he's not refereeing? Maybe he's the alternate, but he knows the guys that are on the field. He knows the guys that are going to be making those calls. It doesn't matter if it's $5 on that game. If he got a chance to make a profit off of that, we're going to be looking like, bro, think about the Rams and the Saints. Hey, man, how'd you miss that call right there on the pass interference? What's going on here? Oh, but his man might have had $5 on that thing that he knew it would have ballooned to who knows how much. those are some of the things where it's like, man, you just can't play that game with that because it's a slippery slope, man.
Yeah, agreed 100%
Yeah.
because the NFL, and you even said it multiple times whenever I first met you, you're like, yeah, I couldn't bet or do anything
Can't do none of it, man.
gambling related with the NFL while I was playing. And now that I'm out of the league, now I could do fantasy. Now I could do some of this other stuff.
Absolutely.
And
man.
from what I was hearing too, even just sports talk radio over the past like couple of days, NFL really hammers that home to you guys too.
Like, that's day one. Like they talk about that before they talk about domestic violence and DUIs, bro. The first thing they say is you got to protect the shield, integrity of the shield. Then after that, they say, hey, man, we know. Then this was especially like when fantasy football was first becoming a thing. It was like, listen, man, we can't participate in that. It was like, why? Because this is essentially you have information that the regular people don't have. You can pick up a phone and you know who's available and who's not available before anybody else does. And when you got a chance to profit on that as well, it makes the integrity come into question, and we just can never have that because that's one of the best things about the NFL. That's why we love the parity, because we truly believe that the game is not rigged in any way, shape, or form. But as soon as that crack happens and you can point and say, listen, man, this guy right here was putting money on a situation and he had information on it ahead of time, it just takes away that whole integrity. It takes away that benefit of the doubt. And the NFL, they just do not want to have that ever come into play.